Hey there, and welcome to Mama Drama and Trauma Truth Talk Thursday. I'm your host, Jenny Kimmel, and today we're going to take a deeper dive into episode 2, the week after the affair. After 22 years of marriage, I found out through a text message that it was over. Yes, you heard me correct, a text message. I think I deserved way more than that after being married for 22 years. This wasn't some middle school breakup. This was my real life, my marriage, my family, and it deserved a face-to-face conversation. Getting a text message that my husband of 22 years was having an affair and him not telling me anything about her or the whole situation for that matter wasn't okay. I had so many questions left unanswered. But you know what? He never did tell me who she was. I had to find out from other people who she was and how they met. Looking back and the red flags I missed. It's strange how once you know the truth, all the little moments start to make sense. Like our vacation to Colorado. My husband would get up early in the mornings and go for walks or take walks in the middle of the day all by himself. And during those walks, he would call his affair partner and talk to her. At the time, I didn't realize it, but looking back, that was so out of character for him to go off all by himself on a family vacation and leave us all behind. There was also the moment in the car when we were using my phone for GPS, so I asked him to see his phone to look something up. He hesitated. This had never happened before. In the moment, I noticed his hesitation, but didn't really think anything of it. But looking back now, huge red flag. There were times he was short with me for no reason on that vacation. He'd make a bigger deal out of things than they needed to be. I guess maybe he was feeling a little resentful towards me because he was with me and not her on this vacation. I remember feeling like, gosh, I'm trying to do something nice or helpful for him and he's getting so mad about it. Looking back, he was just distant. He wasn't fully there with us. I even remember wanting to take a picture, just him and I with a gorgeous background, and he was against it. He wanted the kids to be in it with us. I remember saying, no, just us, and then we'll do one with the kids too. We did end up doing one with just him and I, and then we also did one with the kids. And maybe someday I'll be able to share those photos with you. Another red flag I didn't think much of at the time. I know, look at me over here dismissing red flags left and right. But there was just a distance there I couldn't explain. But I never ever once for 1 second thought he was having an affair. And then there was a plane ride to Colorado. This should have been the biggest red flag of all. I opened Audible to listen to a book on the plane ride to Colorado. And what I saw shocked me. I saw that he had purchased 50 Shades of Grey. Totally out of character for him. I remember tapping him on the shoulder because Ryan, Derek, and him were sitting in front of Carson and I. And I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Did you purchase 50 Shades of Grey?" He confirmed he had, and for whatever reason, didn't think twice about it. Why wasn't that a major red flag for me? It should have been. It was so out of character for him to even think about that book. I don't even know that he had ever heard of that book. So it should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. I guess I was maybe just blind to the whole thing, and maybe I just didn't want to see it. Even though there were so many signs and red flags at the time, I didn't see any of them. I didn't put it together. I just didn't see it. The day I found out, I remember that day so clearly, but then again, it was kind of a fog. It was almost like me living outside of my own body. I was an emotional mess, crying all throughout the day, and my kids knew something was off because I was crying. I wasn't myself. I was in that fog. But Ryan actually just told me the other day that back then, on that day, he thought I was upset and crying about Peepaw. He was referring to my dad who had passed away 8 months earlier. The boys had no clue what was going on that day, but once they found out, they had so many questions just like I did. The questions they wondered, do we have to move? If we move, will we have to go to a different school? I don't want to move. I want to stay here in this house. They also had questions about their dad and his affair partner. So many questions, and I just didn't have the answer for any of them. Questions that any teenager would wonder about, and I just didn't know what to say or how to answer those questions because I didn't know myself. That same night when I couldn't sleep, I went into the bathroom and saw his Apple Watch on the counter charging. I went back to bed, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I lay there and I think if I go in and look on his watch, I can find out information, who she is, how they met. But I would lay there and try to talk myself out of it. But eventually I went back into the bathroom and against my better judgment, I looked at his text messages and found Tom with a heart by it. Yep, I knew right away that's what I was looking for. It wasn't Tom, it was his affair partner, disguised with a man's name. I proceeded to read all of the text messages between them. And I probably shouldn't have because I was devastated. Reading the things they were saying to each other, the plans they were making for their future together, when they hadn't even ended the relationships they were currently in. I went in, woke him up, and when I started questioning him about the text, his response was that he thought he had deleted all those messages. Well, I guess he forgot about the ones on his watch that I unfortunately had the opportunity to read. False hope and wanting to feel safe again. Even after reading all those text messages between him and her, I still had hope. I still thought there was a chance. And that's what breaks my heart the most, how much hope I had. Those first couple of nights after I found out, he lay next to me in bed. Did that give me false hope? Absolutely. I would lay there, not able to sleep, and I would pray that when I could actually get some sleep, that I'd wake up and this would all be just a bad dream, a nightmare I could just shake off. I remember so many times in that first week just wanting my life to feel normal again, just wanting to feel safe again. But I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel normal for months to come. And I just remember longing deep in my bones for that feeling of being safe again. Let's talk about the only control I felt I had. In all the years we were together, I never once felt the need to check on my husband's location or keep tabs on him. But once the betrayal hit, I felt like that's the only control I had. And I almost became obsessed with knowing everything he was doing. It wasn't healthy, and if I could go back, I wouldn't do any of that again. I would simply let him go and let him live his life. But when you're on that emotional roller coaster, you're grasping for straws, grasping for any control you can have over the situation. And sometimes you do things that are completely out of character, things you wish you had never done. In some sense, I realize now that I was still holding on to what I wished it still was, trying to control that. Even though you can't control another person, no matter how long you've been with them and no matter how close you felt to them, you just don't have that control. I see now that it was unhealthy for me, but at the time, I was just surviving the only way I knew how. And the truth is, survival doesn't always look pretty, but it made me stronger, and I know I will never hand that kind of control over to anyone ever again because I learned my lesson. Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the pain of our boys. I'll never forget that night the boys found out. The shock, the pain, the confusion, and how my husband just told them so nonchalantly, like it was no big deal. Even though we were all completely devastated. I'm not sure why it seemed so easy for him, maybe because he had already moved on while we were just now finding out. One of the boys ran upstairs right away crying, and I went up after him, comforting him the best I could. My mom heartbreaking for my kids that now had to deal with something they didn't ask for. The other two just sat there in shock, asking questions, trying to figure out what was going on and why this was happening. Another night, he took the boys out for the evening, and I used that time to try to catch up on some sleep because I hadn't been sleeping well at all. They came back, and he came upstairs with them and peeked in at me in the bedroom. He said, "Just wanted to say hi and check in on you." He was just acting normal, like our lives hadn't just been flipped upside down. I was sleeping already at 8:30 in the evening because I was exhausted, and he just acted normal, like our life hadn't just been shattered, and I just couldn't for the life of me understand why all of this was so easy for him. The only normal thing. In a weird way, the kids and I were blessed in the strangest way because all of their lives, my husband worked out of town 6 to 7 months out of the year. So him being gone was kind of normal for us. Unlike most families in this situation, it didn't throw off the kids' schedule because we were already used to it. So we were lucky enough, in a sense, I guess, that we didn't have to adjust to him being gone. I guess that's one positive thing in this messy situation to be thankful for. My mom's heartbreak. I tell my mom everything. She's usually the first person I go to with any news, good or bad, but not this. This was just too heavy. My dad had passed away just 8 months earlier, and my mom thought so highly of my husband, just like she did my dad. She really did think of him as her son, and my dad did too. They both really loved him. I wouldn't say I didn't want to tell her because I knew she would be disappointed. I didn't want to tell her because I knew she was going to be heartbroken again, just 8 short months after the biggest heartbreak of her life. This was going to be another heartbreak she had to face so soon after losing my dad. That's why I couldn't tell her first. I couldn't bring myself to give her this news. News I knew would break her heart just like it broke mine. Where am I now? You know, one of the biggest things I don't understand is how you can just move on before you even heal from your previous relationship. I have poured myself into healing and continue doing so that the next relationship I'm in, I know I'll be healed from the previous one and content knowing I have fully moved on and healed myself. The truth is, I still have rough days. This week has been a little bit of a struggle for me. I caught myself one night going to my room, laying in bed, and crying because of some things that happened. Why was I crying? Because I was disappointed in myself. And once again, I thought, shame on me for being so naive. Is it something about me that just wants to see the good in people? I don't understand why I can't see it for what it is sometimes. Distance is always best, obviously, but that's really hard when you have kids you're trying to do right by. Through this whole process, I'm learning how to regulate my feelings, something I honestly wasn't great at before. But I've really come a long way with that, and I'm proud of the progress I've made. Another thing I've learned is that life isn't so serious, so take it easy, chill out, and relax. I guess sometimes I'm just still learning lessons the hard way. But you know what? That's okay because at least I see it and choose to learn from it. Thank you guys for joining me again this week for Truth Talk Thursday. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my website, mommadramaandtrauma.com. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and let's continue the conversation there. And if today's episode spoke to you, please share it with a friend who might need to hear it too. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, Momma, Drama, and Trauma, because episode 3, week 2, Hope, Denial, and the Unraveling of Trust drops on Tuesday. It's raw, it's real, and you don't want to miss it. As always, you are strong, you are worthy, and your story matters. Until next time, take care of you.